I'm out here this morning with the Air Venturi Avenger-X 177 shooting at 50 yards. It's about 80 degrees, a little windy, but not too bad. Hello, I'm Dale Petrock. In a previous video, I started with Avenge-X, taking a look in caliber 177 to see how well it performed at 50 yards. I had tried several pellets and it was set on the high setting. At the end of that session, I decided one of the things I needed to do was test some of those same pellets at the low setting and see how they performed. And so in this particular case, I used Benjamin Match 10.5 pellets, AA 10.3 Field Heavies, H&N 10.65s, and H&N 9.57s to see how they would do on the low settings and see if there was a performance difference. The high setting was running with 10.3s at about 950, 960 feet per second, which seemed a little fast. And so I was concerned that perhaps that was creating some issues with some of the performance of some of those pellets. And so the low setting runs about 830, 825, and so roughly in that range. And so I wanted to see even as low as 820. So I wanted to see if that made a big difference in performance of the pellets. I know my TX200 tends to run just under 800 in 10.3s, and so I wanted to see if, and it shoots really well with 10.3, so I wanted to see how well it performed. And so in this particular case, I started off shooting in the low position, and as you'll see in the pictures, the regulator is set at about 1800 roughly. It's not a precise gauge. It's not like a digital readout or anything. It's an analog gauge, so it is what it is. And I started with a full fill, which is just under 300 bar, roughly a little over 4,000 psi, and you'll see that on the analog gauge as well. Throughout this test, unless otherwise specified, I never dropped below 3,000 on the full tank fill, so I stopped a couple of times and did a refill. You saw the system I use in that particular case. Having my coffee here in my day at the range cup. And continuing on. And so I started with the Benjamin Match 10.5s because on the high setting, they performed amazingly well. They stayed consistently under an inch at 50 yards with 177, so I was pretty happy with that. And so I wanted to see how they did on the low setting. And then I tried, which was not well. As you see in the picture here, the performance was about 1.25, 1.55, and 1.27 for group sizes at 50 yards with them on the low setting. And so thinking that that might be an issue of my just having a day that was off, I moved over and shot the AA 10.4, 10.3 pellets in head size 4.52 to see how well they did. Both the 10.5 Benjamins and these AA pellets are sorted by weight to the 10th grain, so the AAs are actually 10.4, and you'll see in the picture of the target, they performed very well. One group was 0.46 inches, another was 0.35 inches, and another was 0.52. And so I was thinking maybe the Benjamin pellets were just, it was me and not the pellets. And so I thought I'd give it a try. So I reset up and shot on the high setting with the Benjamin, and you'll see that I shot 4 targets. And again, it jumped right back to where it had with the high setting previously. One target was 0.82, one was 0.66, one was 0.43, 1.2 with me having a flyer. And so I shot again, and so 5 went into 0.43 with the flyer. And the same on the last group, which was 0.94, but a flyer, so 5 went into 0.39. And so in any case, it appears to be that the Benjamins just like to go fast, and the AA 10.3s like to go slow. And so I moved on and then shot H and N, and the wind started to pick up through this period of time. So some of this may have been affected by wind. And so the H and N shot a group size of 7.72, if I can say it. But it was only 0.35 high, and so there was a wind spread a little bit. The second one was 1.58. The height was 1.18. And the height on the third group was 0.69, but the overall group, because of perhaps some of the wind, was 1.21. In the last group, 1.56, but again, the group height was 0.48. So there may be some need to continue to do testing with the H&N 10.65s on this low setting, but the thing that concerns me is it appears to be they're more affected by wind than were the air arms, because the wind was essentially the same for both sets of shots. And then lastly, the H&N 9.57s on the low setting. One group was 0.94, one was 1.27, and one was 1.10. So at 50 yards, they're okay. They're not great. And then I decided to shoot, and I didn't get this particular set of targets on video. The camera ran out of juice and I didn't catch it. And so what I did is I wanted to see if, now that the reg pressure was just dropping below 3,000, how the air arms 10.3s had done that I had sorted, and I shot a group, and you'll see that was 0.59. And then I played around for a bit, and then as I was getting ready to come off the regulator, I wanted to see how the air arms 10.3s performed as it dropped off the regulator. And so I shot a group of, I don't know how many shots, 10, 12, and what you see is the performance of those in the wind, with me not being particularly cautious about shooting, but not being sloppy either. So the good news for me is that it appears that on the low setting, the air arms 10.3s are going to be pretty stable. That if I'm going to be shooting perhaps longer range, and I'll need to test that at 75 and 100 yards, or at least 100 yards, with the Benjamin 10.5s, it may prove that they are more amenable to those particular kinds of settings, given that I'm able to shoot about 100 feet per second faster with them than I can the others, and still seem to maintain some semblance of a near 1-inch group at 50 yards. So we'll have to see. In any event, those are the results. What you'll see next is a speeded up part of the process where I record the videos of the shooting, and you can see those except for the 9.57s and the air arms that came off the rig because I ran out of gas in the camera. May all your shooting be X's, and have a great day.